So this pencast is on translations involving inequalities. So it says the following chart defines the ranges for normal blood pressure, high normal blood pressure, and high blood pressure, which is hypertension. All values are measured in millimeters of mercury, or mmHg. And Hg is just the abbreviation for mercury in the periodic table of elements. So when they say millimeters of mercury, they're talking about how much mercury is displaced, or how far it goes up on the little gauge. So in our chart, we've got three rows, one for normal, one for high normal, and one for hypertension. And then if we look at the two columns here and here, we can see that the first column is for systolic pressure and the other one is for diastolic pressure. So normal has diastolic less than 130 and diastolic less than 85. High normal has systolic at 130 to 139 inclusive, which means it includes those ending values, 130 and 139. Diastolic is also inclusive, and it runs from 85 to 89. And then finally, the last one is hypertension, which has a systolic pressure of 140 or greater, and a diastolic of 90 or greater. So understand when it says systolic 140 or greater, the 140 is included because of the or statement. And when it says diastolic 90 or greater, because of that or, we know that the value of 90 is included. So then it says, write an inequality using the variable p that represents each condition. So in problem A, it says diastolic pressure in hypertension. So the first thing you have to pay attention to is which pressure they're talking about, and in this case they're talking about diastolic, so we don't care about systolic here. So diastolic pressure in hypertension. So we find the row that represents hypertension, which is the third row, and we go to the diastolic pressure for that. And for hypertension, diastolic 90 or greater. So I'm just going to write that below here. So diastolic 90 or greater. Alright. Now remember that we're representing the value of the pressure by the letter P. So diastolic we're going to replace with the letter P. And then it says diastolic 90 or greater. So diastolic, which is P, we want to be 90 or greater than 90. So P can be greater than or equal to 90. In example B, it says high normal range for systolic pressure. So we want the high normal range, and we want it for systolic pressure, which is the other form of pressure. So we find high normal in the chart, which is the second row, and then we go to systolic, and it says systolic 130 to 139 inclusive. So I'm going to write that down. Systolic 130, 139 inclusive. Alright, so anytime they tell us that we have a range of values, that means that our variable, in this case P, is going to go in the middle. And anytime they tell us it's inclusive, that means that we're using an inclusive inequality, which is less than or equal and greater than or equal. So for the P is going to be greater than or equal to something, and less than or equal to something else. And now we just put in our lower and upper values. So if we write the 130 over here and read it this way, it says P is greater than or equal to 130. And now we put our upper value on, which is 139, and we read it this way, and it says P is less than or equal to 139. And that is our answer.